Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett on a Tuesday instead of a Monday because you had jury duty on Monday and you got dismissed.
You know, I have all my adult life, and I've been called several times, and then called into the box from the greater pool, as I was yesterday. But then when they seat the 12 they want, I'm never in those 12. There's something about me.
I don't want you to take that personally, John, because I want you to know that you're good enough and you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. So.
I don't mean this disparagingly. It was a very instructive experience and a great civic experience. But it occurred to me that it's not just that one side or the other is afraid I'm going to favor that side. I think it's, as these lawyers went through the voir dire process, they're looking for the 12 people who are the most, I don't mean dumb or stupid, just the blankest, most neutral people on the issue.
The ones that could be persuaded.
And I understand why they do it. They have worked hard on they have voluminous files. They want the thing considered on the basis of what they're going to present. And they didn't seat an obstetrician gynecologist. This was a wrongful death case, a medical case, because she brings her own doctoring to the equation. A nurse at Baptist Hospital who recognized everything that the lawyer said in terms of medical drugs and procedures, he didn't get seated either. They're looking, they want to present the case to the most neutral people they see among the jury pool. And they didn't see me that way, partly because they asked an opening question, anybody got a problem? And I said, let's just get this out there. This is a medical damage case. Medical damage caps are a big issue. I write an opinion column for the paper, and I have views on that. We knew that.
You're dismissed.
No, we knew that. Basically. So, anyway. But
I was just privately hoping, just for your writing prowess, that you were going to get sequestered, because you might have made a book out of that one. That one could have been really cool.
Well, I may write about this experience, because I don't want to give too much of it away or spend too much time on this, but I was sitting there thinking, the doctor's lawyer think I'm on the plaintiff's side. The fact is, I am horribly conflicted just by instinct on this. An 18-year-old had died, and the parents were seeking money based on his lost lifetime earnings. And I'm thinking, well, something about that, for all the great tragedy they've sustained, is uncomfortable. The other, I've been in emergency rooms, and I'm surprised emergency room doctors sometimes don't make a few more errors. You know, and so I was actually having, I didn't want to be tied up for a week, and I'm thinking, I think they're going to reject me, and I hope so. But then when they did, I was kind of, well, darn, because I was going to be a pretty good juror on this.
You were.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get another chance. Hey, look, you were in the you were in the state
court. Judge Mary McGowan's.
But you could have been in the Southern District of New York yesterday, which would have been perhaps more entertaining.
You did all this for purposes of a segue.
I did.
I thought you were seriously interested in my experience.
You fell right into my trap.
Oh, for heaven's
you see how this goes? I was interested in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But it does set up nicely.
It does. I compliment you.
So you're no Sean Hannity. We know that for a fact.
No, I will tell you what conflicts I have.
What did you make of yesterday when all that came out and you're reading about it or you're watching it last night and you're like, are you kidding me?
That's all you can say. That's all you can say. And it has so many elements I couldn't begin to hold forth on all of them, because one would remind me of another one. But here's the one I'll choose as a 50-year journalist, nearly. The decline of an element of journalism that is broadcast, particularly cable news broadcast, with the advent of the celebrity factor of hour-long hosts of their own programs who are pretending to be like anchormen, but who are in fact both more entertainer than and partisan than journalists. You think you've got that, you know, you got your hands around that, you understand it in a minute. Then you find out that this Hannity, who I already knew to be the worst, when the other night when he was praising and defending Cohen, and attacking Robert Mueller, one of the great prosecutors and criminal and law enforcement people of our time, for him to sit there, and you know he's biased, and that's okay, but now we find out he's actually has a professional client-lawyer association with the guy he's defending, but he's not telling anyone that. It's just an outrage.
It's a new level.
It's a new level
Yeah.
of aghastness.
Is that a word?
I don't know, but I'm certainly aghast. And then subsequently, the fact that you can't get at the truth anymore. The story from Cohen and his people is he had 10 people he had worked with, but 7 he just sort of messed around with and did some business deals or something. 3 were actual clients. The third, it turns out, to everyone's gasping, Sean Hannity,
who claims,
who then says, no, at
There
best he should have been one of the 7 because he never retained him. He may have given him $10 once and said, I want this to be attorney-client privilege. What?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's either the Fox News host is lying, or the president's lawyer and his lawyers are lying, because both can't be true.
True.
He's got to be in the 7 or he's got to be in the 3. So who knows? And at this point, who cares? Other than we've got to reach some point at which people will just generally recoil and say, I'm going to stop listening to this nonsense.
I think we're getting close to that point.
I hope so. I hope so.
But a person who does not want us to quit talking about this, at least for a few more weeks, is James Comey, the former FBI director, whose
another good segue.
book
Let me
comes
compliment
out.
you on your
My segues are good today, according to John Brummett.
We do. I do real-time critiquing.
What do you think the damage is from the Comey book and revelations and the interviews? Do you think that he is just beating up the president and there's not a whole lot of new news there? Or do you think we're learning something new about what was going on behind the scenes and what was James Comey's, I guess his MO during the whole 2016 election and beyond?
I don't believe the Trump base is assailable. I don't think anybody in the 35% is even bothering to listen fairly to James Comey, because that's what makes the group the Trump base. They go in thinking, this guy's a liar, and he'd made up his mind. He's pro-Hillary. Listen, his wife likes Hillary. His daughters are out there marching. He's part of the deep state. He has no effect thereon. Those who are disinclined toward Trump, who are concerned about his decency, I think this reinforces that. And I think there's a general perception among those people that Comey is a guy who keeps meticulous notes and is a real serious guy, and we can probably believe what he's saying. But what I'm writing for tomorrow, and what I hear a lot of people saying, is that Comey has actually revealed himself in all this matter. I call him nobly intended, credible, ironic, presumptuous, to the point of seeming sanctimony. I mean, he seemed, through all his explanations, he took all these dramatic political actions because he said he wanted to keep the FBI, the Justice Department, out of politics and protect, in fact, the integrity of the election and who would be president. Yet at every decision, he is considering politics himself and the political ramifications as much as he's considering the law enforcement. The FBI's tried and true process is if you investigate and find no reason to proceed, you simply say, we find no reason to proceed. Mm-hmm. You do not do commentary. Least of all, the nation's top cop does not do political commentary. Comey thought, this is such a wild situation, and Loretta Lynch has so messed up our department by seeming close to the Clintons, that we can't just do that. I've got to go out, and it's also very presumptuous. I have the ability, that's what he's essentially saying, to impose some sort of decency and honor to this process. I singularly must do it. I singularly can do it. And then he messed that up, and then he had to try to correct it because he'd messed up to start with 10 days out. Then he had to try to correct that 3 days later.
Yeah.
I think he's a credible man, a valuable man. I think if he were an independent candidate for president, I'd probably vote for him. But presumption. The presumption of this exaggerated sense of self that this needs to be done and it's irregular, but I must do it and I can do it. That's really at the root of all that happened here. And I think that's sort of been revealed. I think people are looking at this and they're saying, yeah, I believe you. but you're a little stuck on yourself. And I think, just to break it down to its basics.
All right, last question for you. Let's talk about the 2nd Congressional District here in Arkansas. What is the state of the race today? Clark Tucker posting a big number for the first quarter. We've had one debate.
Yeah.
You see the candidates are out and doing some circulation. What's your assessment of where the race stands?
Well, two things that I've written about them today that are revealing. One is the congressman, Democratic congressman from New Mexico, who's head of the DCCC, just openly said in a session with reporters last week when asked, I think by Frank Lockwood of the Democratic Gazette, yeah, we're for Clark Tucker. I like Clark Tucker. He's our guy. Sort of making the same mistake I made by essentially endorsing Tucker and getting accused of patting on the head the other three fine candidites whom I just patted on the head.
When you can remember their names.
And I can. Trust me, I can. So the DNC, by the way, and state party, those must remain neutral. The DCCC is run by the Democratic members of Congress. They are its officers, and if they want Clark Tucker, it's up to them to say that for Clark Tucker. So we know that. So there's this interesting dynamic: is that on the scales of how that plays, is that better for Tucker that the national guys say we've got somebody down here they want, thinks very good, or does he look like an insider or an elite candidate in an era when those things are resented among all philosophies? Is it good? Or, I think it will depend on whether any of the other three can deftly make that case.
Yeah, because I think in this day and age, when you're that candidate that is at where you're saying Clark Tucker is, you get to take the benefits of the DCCC's support, and at the same time, they give you the leeway to say, throw us under the bus, it's okay, sort of thing. I mean, we saw that back in the Mark Pryor race in 2014. We've seen that in other races before.
And Tucker's not throwing them under the bus. He's declining to comment. Not even so much as, well, that's nice. It's just, okay, they said that. I'm going to, if you let me, I'm not going to say it. Now, go ahead.
Do you think that race goes, do you think it goes to a runoff? And
well,
let's talk about the runoff
that's where
dynamic.
I was trying to get, but
But I'm segued and got you set up, so now you just roll right into it. So.
The issue, and I'm not going to answer that question because I don't know, and I look forward, I understand, I hope I can say this, I think your organization is going to be doing some polling.
We will.
And I look forward to that. It's not often that we get significant sampling and good polling in a congressional district. If you do one of your statewide polls, the sample in each of the congressional districts will be too small to be meaningful. So that's a valuable thing you're going to do, and I look forward to it. And what I'll be looking for, I expect Clark Tucker will be ahead. I think he will be the front runner, I think by a pretty good margin, I think. The question is, will there be a runoff? If there's a 4-person candidate, there are 3 other very good candidates. I just listened to an interview you had with Jonathan Dunkley, who's very impressive himself. If Tucker can take his money advantage, he's raised a lot more money. If he can take the advantage whatever advantage comes from being the one the Democrats in Washington think is best, I think his natural advantage among the Little Rock regulars, if he can take that and win without a runoff, which I think is possible, that's great. If he gets in a runoff, the whole dynamic changes. Like, who's going to go back to the polls, and does this become a more focused race between an insider elitist, as he'll be called, and somebody representing a more passionate outsider cause like Medicare for all or single payer or money in politics? So to me, the issue in that race is, does Tucker get 49 and below or 51 and above in the first go-around? You
realize it's 2018 and we're having an actual interesting conversation about a Democratic congressional,
and it's great,
contested race. It is, isn't it? We haven't had this in a few years.
Well, I mean, it's not great for the Democrats, it's great for us because
well, that's what I'm referring to.
Political parties have become, and are steadily becoming, largely irrelevant. But in Arkansas, Republicans pretty much, they have their incumbents everywhere, so they're not going to have,
right,
with the possible exception of the governor's race, not going to have anything really exciting in the primaries. The Democratic primaries have either been, 2 years ago, the Democrats, I started to say that they only had 1 or 2 in the 4 districts. Candidates only had one. Mm-hmm. The Libertarians ran somebody in all 4, and the Democrats didn't. But even in 2014, there was no Democratic primaries. Yeah, they found one.
They were fairly
and it was
cleared.
As recently as 4 years ago, when it looked like the Democrats might have an actual primary for governor between Mike Ross and Bill Halter, the Democratic establishment said, "Oh no, it's going to be divisive."
Well, the only chance Doc Bryant got in there on the Democratic side.
That's true, isn't it? We've got to. You remind me of these things that on the periphery. But the thinking was we can't have a primary. I mean, we're so weak that we can't divide up our supporter. We can't force him to raise money now. He needs to raise all of his money, in this case, Ross. But this time, we got 4 people who think they're being well received and who are vigorous. And I don't know that it means they're going to beat French Hill, but people are talking about 2nd District as potentially in play. And the only way a party recovers from the ashes, rises from the ashes that the Democratic Party of Arkansas is in, is just naturally from passion and spontaneity. And that's what we're seeing in the 2nd District.
It's exciting stuff. Good to talk about, good to write about.
You betcha.
He's John Brummett with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. As always, good to see you.
You bet. Take care.
Right. Watch out on that jury duty.
All right.
All right. That's all for today's Talk Business and Politics. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.